I love Betty White and dog dicks.
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Hot in Cleveland. Hot in Cleveland went 128 episodes over 6 seasons on TV Land. Here we're talking about episode 1, which is called Pilot, originally airing June 16th, 2010. Gonna get things started. I'm Jay Gags. With me, as always, the boys, all the boys, Joe, Ferg, Nick, and Gordo. What's going on, everyone? And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Hey-o.
That's where whores go, ho-ho.
Hey, trademark.
So this is the episode that's coming out a couple days. What is it? No, it's like almost like 5 days before Christmas. So this is our Christmas episode. So this is our Betty White Christmas. That's why we're doing Hot in Cleveland.
It's talking about the day before Christmas, right?
It's more than that, I believe.
Oh, wait, no, the Christmas is a Wednesday this year, yep.
To peel back to everyone and let you guys know, originally we had the idea of doing Betty White Christmas for the whole month of December. Seeing where we had already done Golden Palace and Golden Girls, yeah, we realized there wasn't a lot of meat on the bone. So to not tank our downloads for an entire month, we decided to just leave it isolated to this one special week.
It's weird that there were like enough other weird Betty White shows, including ones after this show.
Not after. This was the last one for her.
Oh, was this the last one? I thought there was one right after.
No, she had like two in the she had like, I think all three. One was super old. And then
What year was this first season?
This was 2010.
She was on a season of Community.
Well, as far as like a show that she was considered like a star of.
A star
like,
of,
this was her last like final run. It's a series regular.
Now we have, what, 4 more shows?
We have 3 more Betty White Christmases in the bank if we want to do that.
Exactly.
Well, that's good. That makes it easy for the next few years. Unless somebody, I mean, to be fair, in the next however many years, somebody might pop up a sitcom. With the Santa Clauses count, we talked about that. It was terrible, but I don't know if we could do it.
We already did
We
it.
already did it.
Wait, did we already do it?
Yeah.
We've done so many episodes of this. My brain is just
Last year,
kaputski.
actually.
Yeah, we did The Simpsons year 1. We did Merry Happy Whatever. The show that Ferg doesn't, the Ferg falsely thinks is satirical.
I'm sorry you guys don't understand satire.
No, we do.
Even I do.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
Funny enough, too, as far as like Betty White starring shows, she wasn't even supposed to be on anything other than this one episode. It was supposed to be a one-off. And then they liked her on the show, so they kept her on.
You can tell, and I think that's actually a good thing because they use her sparingly in this, but they use her sparingly so she's funny every time she's in it, right? Like they don't overdo it. It's almost like George's parents in Seinfeld, right? Like they pop in every once in a while and they're super funny, but you don't get hit over the head with them.
Also, this would be the first TV Land original. It's actually the first TV Land original.
I was going to say,
period.
it's the first one.
And I believe the first TV Land original that we're covering as well.
How many did they have? I thought they just played reruns of old shows.
We've looked this up before. I'm looking at it now. It's
There's
Hot
the
in
Kirstie Alley
Cleveland.
one.
Yeah, it's just called Kirstie.
Yeah.
There's the Soul
There's
Man.
the one
The
with,
Soul Man.
like, what's his name? Michael Faison?
Yeah, Faison.
It was like him and the girl from Third Rock from the Sun. Basically, TV Land would just find people that were all historically like popular from other television shows and just like grab randoms from each one. And
Didn't Cedric the Entertainer have one too?
He did. That was the Soul Man.
Okay.
Or hold on.
Oh, I was thinking of Soul Man with Dan Aykroyd that we can't find a
there's
copy
2
of.
shows by that name. Unfortunately, when you wanted to do the other one, this is the only one that you could find a clear copy of.
Dan Aykroyd, take some of that vodka money and get that fucking TV show put on some streaming service so I can watch it again.
And as far as Hot in Cleveland goes, I mean, I was always aware of the show, but I think this is the first time I ever actually watched an episode. Where do you guys sit with this?
Same.
Same boat as you.
It was a big deal when it came out because I loved TV Land in its initial, it was just Nick at Night as a network.
Yeah, that's all it was. It was just Nick at Night, the channel.
Yeah. So when this was coming out, like they were advertising it on everything. So if you wanted to watch like, I don't know, Taxi or something, right? Like you were seeing a commercial for Hot in Cleveland. And this cast is great. So it seems like it was going to work, but for some reason I never watched any of it.
Honestly, they should just go back to basics. Nostalgia is so powerful right now, and there's nothing just playing these old shows.
No, there are.
It's all like random streamers. Like this one actually exists on a few. Like Paramount Plus, I believe, has this. I think Prime.
Yeah, in my search is Paramount Plus was the most notable way to watch this.
It's so tricky because now in the world of like the streamers, it's definitely different, and everyone has their own licensing. But yeah, it would be nice to just have like a channel that's like a little more like if you're doing conventional television, which is like these kind of just drain, like background noise TV shows that like would always be on. Like
MeTV just needs to have a streaming channel because that's all MeTV is. It's all of that,
Yeah.
and then they do Svengoolie on Saturday night, and then they do Three Stooges and Kolchak the Night Stalker. Like it's the best Saturday night, and then they just play other old TV shows all day long. But you have to get it on terrestrial cable.
Ooh.
What about extraterrestrial cable?
Pizza? Who said you guys ordered pizza?
I find that my television isn't like as on as it used to be like years ago because back then you just turn it on, find a random channel, let it go. And then like that's how, we've talked about shows like, According to Jim and stuff like that were always just kind of background noise shows.
Oh, I know.
But like now, like I'm not going to turn my TV on and then consciously find something to put on a streamer and then walk around the house and not watch it. You know what I mean?
I do.
So it's like
I permanently have Ghost Adventures just playing in the background.
Okay, yeah, I don't go through the trouble to do it, so my TV's just off unless I'm gonna go out of my way to watch something now.
Those reality shows are pretty good to keep on in the background. Those
Yeah.
types of reality shows. Like I know Mama Gordon likes to watch those vet shows.
Like Dr. Pool.
Yeah.
We have to have our moms link up and see like they're living similar lifestyles right now.
Every time I go over to her house, I'm like, oh, why is that guy's hand up like a cow's asshole? Like,
And you're like, this is Keeping Up with the Kardashians. What are you talking about?
Those shows, anytime I see like my mom watching any of those types of shows, any pet shows, it's always like pet surgeries, and it's like,
Yeah.
or it's like Sandra's bringing in her dog of 14 years who's got glaucoma now, and it's like sad news. I'm like,
Oh, kill me. Don't kill me or give me weed.
and then real quick, want to go over a few numbers. IMDb has this in 7.4. Rotten Tomatoes, only an audience score, 84% for that. I can see, I mean, like, I think this definitely, we're talking about like, why didn't we watch it? I mean, if you think back to 14 years ago and we're all in our like younger 20s, this is not a show that was like really built for younger 20s, although
Certainly we were not the demographic for this. Yeah.
but it's funny because like you look at it now, and I just think like we've talked about this, like women just aged a little differently than back in the day. Isn't this in a lot of ways just a new Golden Girls, anyways? Like ironically enough,
This is just the Golden Girls with Betty White playing Sophia. That's all
Yeah.
this show is.
how have we not breached the topic of this? This is like a weird boner dream for Joe, isn't it? It's just like a bunch of like older ladies.
Look,
No, but they don't look like old ladies.
that's the problem. They don't look old enough.
no. I have legit crushes on all three of these women, and I can literally pinpoint where everyone was. I was thinking that when I watched it. Wendie Malick, it is in the episode of Just Shoot Me where she says that they used to call her friend BJ and the Bear, and then she realizes BJ was because of blowjobs, and I was like, boom, that's it. Valerie Bertinelli was the episode she hosted of SNL that I saw when I was like 12, and I was like, who's that lady? And then I was like, you're married to Eddie Van Halen? Double boner. And then with God, what's her name? It's from Seinfeld. First, I saw her when she's Jerry's girlfriend, the Virgin. Like that was another kid one. So like I've had crushes on these ladies for 25 years, and I stand by they all look better now than they did then.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is still coming up on 15 years ago, so I mean, they look good 15 years ago. Let's see.
They all look better then than they did then.
I mean, Wendie Malick is on Night Court now, and she looks exactly the same.
Wendie Malick still does look good, yeah.
She's the oldest of the bunch, right?
I think so, yeah. She's very much the same, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. She's very much the same character and everything, though.
I would know her best from like Just Shoot Me, and like she definitely reminds me of the
That
same
character, yeah.
ish character. She's 73 right now.
You know what's weird? Daphne has not come back on New Frasier. Daphne and Niles are the only two people that are alive who haven't come back.
There's got to be weird contract disputes.
There's something with him not wanting to do it, which I think is probably keeping her off of it because
He brought back Roz, though, and he brought back Bulldog.
I think it was with him specifically. I'm forgetting his name. Niles is what's his name in real life?
David Chapman.
David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah, the guy who killed John Lennon.
Yeah, David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah, so I thought he specifically had no interest in the show. I thought, but I mean that's
okay. What do you mean you don't have interest in the show? He's still acting, by the way. Like it's not like he retired from acting. What a cash cow this must be. It's like, yeah, you were typecasted into it, sure, but I mean, come on, like, not interested.
It must be personal though, because he came back to do the new Wet Hot American Summer stuff.
Yeah.
So he's not like opposed to coming back to old things he used to do.
That's what I mean. Yeah, he's like still doing shit. And to not want to do the most iconic role you've ever done is ridiculous. It's like if they rebooted Cheers and Norm was like, nah, I'm good. It's like, what do you mean, no, you're good? Like, this is...
to a point, though, of like, you know, you have the money, you know, like you don't need it. You don't need the check. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, actors are like artists, you know what I mean? So a lot of them like do want to just do things they're passionate about. So if that's not your thing anymore.
And I respect it, but like the thing that makes your career, like pop in for one episode, take a day of your life, you know, and go like, Frasier, I don't think so. Or zoom in. That was the biggest problem I had with Fuller House. And they were like, if only Stephanie could be here. And I'm like, you can't just fucking zoom in
Stephanie
and do
was
a call.
always there. You mean Michelle?
I'm sorry, Michelle. Like that was such a bullshit thing where they couldn't take 5 minutes out of their day to film a fucking Zoom call.
I was going to mention it right before you did. I think that's the biggest, but now that we've lost Bob Saget, to know that like they couldn't pop on for a episode. So you had that one moment, but
Joe smited Dave Coulier enough. We might lose him soon too. So
yeah, you piece of shit.
Well, with all that in mind, let's spin this right back around. Again, S1E1pod.com is where you can find all the links to our social medias and then where you can go and buy a shirt or anything like that. So please go there, S1E1pod. Well, anyways, I think it's time that we get into the actual episode itself. There's a lot of stuff we need to talk about and we haven't started yet. So show opens up. We're inside of a plane. We see the main character, well, one of them, Melanie. That's Valerie Bertinelli's character, and she's walking to her seat after going to the bathroom. That's when she's sits with her two friends, Joy and Victoria. Joy, Jane Leeves, Victoria, Wendie, Malick. We were talking about them earlier. I said this when we started, like TV Land has this, like, it seems like this was their first time doing it, but like the formula is you get all these people that were popular in other shows and this kind of like mush them all together and make new shows.
Yeah, ensemble cast of people who are famous for other stuff. And this is a very heavy soap opera thing too, right? Because Valerie Bertinelli was in soap operas forever, and then you have a character playing somebody who's in soap operas forever. So I think that's probably going to the demographic they were going to as well.
Does she give anybody else Melissa McCarthy vibes?
Valerie Bertinelli?
Yeah, I don't know. Like
She's actually funny.
Not physically. Yeah, I mean, just like, yeah, I don't know. I just got that vibe from her.
I would almost peg her more as like maybe like an older like Yasmin Bleeth.
I could see that. Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't know who that is off the top of my head.
You don't know who Yasmin Bleeth is?
You should know her. I know what you'll know her from, but you'll know her from Dodgeball.
The girl,
the
girl on the team. Oh, okay.
90s like hot girl.
And I think growing up, like I just knew
Dodgeball.
She's like the main girl that they're pining for.
No.
Yasmin
Christine
Bleeth?
Taylor is the girl that
Christine
Vince Vaughn's
Taylor
going
is the
after.
girl.
Oh, I didn't mean to say dodgeball. I meant to say basketball. I'm sorry.
Oh, basketball.
confused.
Yeah. I was like, what?
My bad.
Yeah, I got thrown for a second too. I was like, you mean Christine Taylor, right? Yeah.
No, that's my fault. I meant to say basketball.
Wait, she was like the discount Kelly Kapowski.
She was, yeah.
Or was Kelly Kapowski the discount Yasmin Bleeth?
Yeah, I was like, put her in that same category with Valerie Bertinelli. They all have a similar vibe. But it's funny because Valerie Bertinelli, despite being famous from actual acting, I really only knew her as Van Halen's wife. Like, it's like how I knew her as a kid.
She was always around with him, which I think helped. And Van Halen was so present in our lives. Although I will say, they were together for so long, and she seemed to have a great deal of influence, but she was not able to get them to be like, don't hire Sammy Hagar. That's not going to be great for the band.
She's also cousins with Courtney
Sammy
Cox.
Hagar has some great songs with the band.
And he's the one hell of a DJ.
I like Sammy Hagar, and I like some of his solo stuff. I'm just saying, you can't compare Van Halen and Van Hagar. It's just two different things.
I agree with you, but you can't deny, as much as I prefer the original,
Same.
they were very successful with Hagar as well.
Sure,
Like,
yeah. Just a different band, right? Like, it's just two different bands. I like some Van Hagar stuff, too. I'm just saying, the Diamond Dave years are where, that's where it's at.
Well, maybe if David Lee Roth wasn't a crazy prick, that wouldn't have happened.
To be fair, and I love that band so much, I think everybody in that band was crazy except Michael Anthony.
Fair. And then it got to the point where, like, once David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar started touring together, it's like, damn.
I love that though, where they're just like, hey, it's the Rhea Perlman, Dave DeVito. It's me or it's nobody. So it's like, you guys want to go on tour?
But anyway, so the three girls are all on the plane together, and the flight attendant like walks up, notices Victoria first, and she's like, do I know you from somewhere? And she's like, oh yeah, you might know me from, blah, blah, blah. She did all the soaps and stuff like that. Oh, I'm sorry. She doesn't even ask her if she knows her from somewhere. She just meant to ask her if she was comfortable, but Victoria assumed that she was asking if she knew her from somewhere.
Yeah, she walked up and she was like, excuse me, are you? And then was cut off.
Comfortable.
And went into this whole tirade thing. She was like, I was just going to say, are you comfortable? But
And she's wearing like a humongous hat at this point too.
Yes.
Yeah, like a Kentucky Derby style hat.
Yeah, she's like not being conspicuous. She's trying to get attention.
The three girls all order like champagne or whatever I don't think they're sitting can you order champagne when you're just sitting like?
I thought about that. I think they are in first class.
No, it's definitely first class because there's that whole row of a single seat.
It is.
they
don't have
discussed
that
first class
anywhere else.
multiple
They
times.
did.
And then one of the, what's her name, tells her to close the first class curtain because they don't want to look at the coach people.
Oh.
What is weird though is she goes back to pee in the coach bathroom because the first class bathroom is always at the front.
I think that's what was like knocking me off because she was walking up, but yeah, that would be towards their backs.
Just maybe she was going to go take a dump and she didn't want
They don't want to do that to the other first
dump
class people.
stench.
Yeah.
You do that to the coach people. You do it to the cattle like us who ride in the back.
Yeah.
Wasn't she going back to try to see the husband?
No, she saw him after she took
that's
a dump.
how she spotted him. You're right.
Broiler, yeah. So
But as someone that's taken a flight to France, you can get champagne in coach.
Yeah, but you got to pay for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. You don't get it.
Of course.
You don't usually get it in a nice glass. So that's like what separates coach from first class.
No, you get like the plastic flutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the little wide at the bottom but short plastic cups. Like if you get booze drink too, like if you get like a nip of whiskey or something, they give you like the little cup with ice.
It's a nip of whiskey that'll be $18.
For real.
We've talked about it before. Last time I bought one, I got it for free.
it's a free drink as if you didn't pay thousands of dollars more for your tickets, though.
Yeah. I mean, I hate flying. I've only flown, I think, 4 times my entire life, but I would like to, if I have to go somewhere someday, I would like to try to fly first class once.
The scene must not help that, huh?
Me too. I would love to do
No,
that.
the scene
once.
did not help my hatred of flying.
So, yeah, so they're all cheersing, and we're finding out that this is like part of Melanie's like she wrote like a book of like, you know, basically like things like everyone should do in their life. And one is just use your miles and fly to France with your best friends. Very specific.
Guys, I wrote a book. We should do all the things in my book.
What, shit all over Boston?
I don't want to do any of those. Gordo, what's number 122 in your book?
There wasn't 122. I don't even think you made it 222.
That's been a short book.
It was. It's indeed a short book.
Yeah.
that you can go buy on Amazon if you'd like. Right? Can you still buy
Yeah,
it?
you can. Yeah, you can still buy it. There.
Is Jeff Bezos still not paying you when people buy it?
He isn't. No. No, I make no money off of it.
Did you not? I thought you got some back when we
No.
bought like 5 copies for the last thing, for the giveaway.
No, I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing.
That almost makes it worth it for me to have to package 5 of your poop books up to mail to the post office. That you got nothing makes me feel
you
better
get
about it.
Nothing.
As they all cheers and start celebrating, the plane gets a little turbulent. And I think they spill like a little bit of drink. So Melanie gets up to grab a napkin. So apparently all the napkins are in coats. So when she walks back there,
Yeah, you're first class. Like somebody walk over with a towel, right?
yeah. So she goes back there, opens the curtain, and boom, it's her ex-husband. So she stops in her tracks. He doesn't see her. She walks back to the seat. She's talking to him about it. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they're apparently like, this is such a bad divorce that the lawyers have advised them not to speak. So it's a little interesting when they interact like a moment later and they seem like they're fine with one another. But she's thinking like, oh, maybe this isn't like a coincidence. Maybe he was missing me and he's going to Paris to like, you know, fill a void and all this stuff. And
Listen, this out of the gate agitated me because this is such a, even for a sitcom where you have this suspended disbelief, he's not going to France alone. Nobody
Yes.
goes to France alone as like they're find themselves. Like you can do that for sure, but it's not going to be France. And I don't know. I feel like there was another way they could have gone with this as to why he might have been in the plane, but it's like he's obviously going to be with somebody. I don't know. At this point, I was like, oh no, it's one of these shows, like with nothing but lazy writing. So about 5 minutes into the show, I have very low expectations. We'll see if they change.
He's a guy who lives in LA and he just got divorced. He's going to get drunk in Vegas. Like he's not taking a 15-hour plane ride to France alone. Yeah.
Not to like get too far ahead in the actual plot and stuff like that, but you can cut out all the stuff with him and it bears no difference to what happens in this show.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, like, this odd would never happen in reality situation doesn't need to happen. The rest of this episode could have happened without this completely, and it wouldn't have changed.
You need
a thing.
that moment that makes her cry. So when they're in Cleveland, she makes the big jump to
Yeah. It does make her a little more.
And why she's so receptive to the guy who likes her, because she's like, maybe I finally found somebody. I went on this trip and I met somebody, because she sees the new girl. He sees Kim or whatever.
But all they had to really do is touch on the fact that she was going through a divorce when all the girls are talking on the plane.
I mean, that too.
Yeah.
For how short this is, though, I think it's okay to give you extra emotion to why she's so
but it's just a little bit of an eye roll situation, you know?
Oh, yeah, I agree. But I get why they put it in there, though.
So rather than this, you do a quick scene where it's supposedly still LA and she walks in on the husband, like in bed with someone or something like that. You don't need the, oh no, we're on the same plane and here's your new fiance who's 16. Like,
I haven't seen more of this show, but you can kind of tell that you're probably going to see more of this guy and they probably don't want to like demonize him. So I could see why they maybe went this way with it.
Yeah. So to clue anyone listening in, so she walks back now because she wants to say hi to him, thinking that this is all like this, you know, rom-com type situation. Like this is all happening for a reason. She starts talking to him, and you're getting a little bit of disposition there
she
too.
watches
with like
Sleepless in Seattle.
Once a month, woof.
And she's talking about like, wow, look at you. And he's like reading a book and he's not like drunk apparently, you know, so like he's turned his life around post-divorce. Again, it's just weird to see that they're like instantly like on great terms because they're court ordered not to speak to one another apparently. So it seems a little interesting that they're this friendly. But, you know, she's like, ooh, like who's this guy? Like I divorced the booze guy. Like who's this guy? And like in like flirting with her ex-husband. And that's when we see that he's actually going on this trip with like a, you know, younger woman that he's now with.
This is great casting too, where it's just like, hey, find me a blonde, way too young woman to be with this dude. Like they like bullseye. No dialogue needed. Just like the visual representation of like what would set somebody like this off, you know?
And then you cut right back to her like at the seat again. And she's sitting in the seat. You know, now she's being consoled by her friends because she didn't see this coming.
You'd think you'd see him when you're boarding.
I mean, a big flight.
She even says that though when she, oh, I didn't see you boarding.
That was touched on.
Oh, I must have missed that.
And as they're trying to console her, she mentions like, "I hope this plane crashes and kills them both." And then it starts getting turbulent again, and they're yelling at her like, "Make it stop!"
Yeah, when what's her name leans over and like deep voice, "Make it stop!" I fucking laugh.
Yeah, that was my first real laugh. When the second one buys into it, she's like, "She's not doing it." It happens again. Make it stop.
I thought, I don't know if this is me being a guy who works at the airport, but I didn't really like how the captain addressed it. It was too like robotic and plain. It was like too calm, like in this emergency landing situation.
I would prefer that than like, oh my God, everybody, oh my God.
But what would actually happen is you would actually have the captain would probably hop on instead of just being like, "This is your captain speaking. Like, you know, we have an issue. We're fasten your seatbelts. We're going to have to." He just like usually be like, "Hey guys, we're just going through a little issue." Like in real life, they would console you a little bit and be calm about it. Just be like, "Just so you guys know, like, you know, we're hitting a thing. You know, we're cleared for a safe landing. Don't worry." I don't know. It was so robotic to me that.
Well, I mean, this was obviously rushed. I mean, they went from turbulent air at 30,000 feet to on the ground in Cleveland in about 8 seconds. So
right,
I
they
think
must have been completely nosediving with the speed they got to.
I think the
ground.
turbulence is because they realized that they were flying at like 8,000 feet, and he was like, "Oh shit, we're way too low." And then he was like, "Hillary Banks, will you marry?"
From LA to Ohio, yeah, you're max altitude by then. You know, you're flying high. You're already like 2-3 hours into that flight.
That's got to be a stop somewhere too, right? Because it's probably like 6 or 7 hours from the East Coast to France. It's like 5 to England, and you're going from LA.
So yeah, you would think because it's 6 hours to the West Coast and it's about 6 hours to France, like, and we're in the middle. So you would assume it's not 12, but it's under 11. It's a like 10.5 hour flight. That's still, fuck that. Like,
it doesn't seem worth it to go to a place where everybody hates you.
Is that still a thing? I know we grew up knowing that to be a thing. Is that real? I
have heard from a lot of people to just, like, if you're gonna go to France, don't go to Paris. Like, they just don't appreciate the
but that's what Disney World Paris is.
I heard differently. So I have a person I work with who he's English, and he was just going to Spain, right? And there was all these protests recently of all these people like fucking with tourists in Spain. And I asked him about it because he was going there with his family. And he's probably like 10 years older than us. And he was like, they don't fuck with people on vacation with their families because those people aren't there like getting drunk and puking in the streets.
No, they hate American tourists. Your friend's not American.
No, but I'm saying Spain specifically, right? But like also if you're there with like a family, it's less of an issue. You're really targeted if you're like, oh, I'm here to get drunk and fuck shit up. Like, then you're like, they do not want you in any place.
Typical Joe vacation.
Right, that's like the American thing. It's like Americans are idiots, but like drunk young Americans, they really do not fucking want you there.
Same with any European country. Young males across that's a young male thing. Doesn't matter where you go. Young dudes, they're gonna fuck shit up.
But also, like, that's if you come to any city, even in America. Yeah. Like, if you're there for a reason and your reason is to, like look at Cops and watch any episode of Cops that takes place in Las Vegas on the Strip, right? They're just constantly just being like, you can't fucking piss in the Bellagio, you're going to jail, right? Like, they're just expecting it, and, like, they don't want you there. Because people just live and work there, right? And, like, people invade and fuck shit up. But if people are just there and they're like, I want to get breakfast, they don't give a fuck.
I mean, like, we should invade Vegas.
We are.
I don't want to take a 6-hour flight to go to Vegas.
So anyways, as this plane was going down, we're getting more from some of these characters figuring out kind of what their goals in life are going to be. And, you know, we know that Melanie wanted to get married and have kids. And Valerie wanted to have, not Valerie, Victoria wanted to have, like, never got an Emmy. And then what was the other character's name? Jeez.
I'm really struggling with their names on this one, too.
Joy. Joy was the one who was Daphne. Joy's, like, whole thing is... she was just like it was a successful thing, right? She owns like a eyebrow place in LA. She does all the Hollywood eyebrows. I forget what she was like wishing for upon crashing.
She was sad that she never got married or had kids.
She was married and kids. Okay.
It was Emmy, kids, and what was the other one?
Taking risks?
Yeah, it was never doing anything impulsive.
Oh, so that sets up her big impulsive.
Yeah.
All right. That's why we do these deep dives. I just learned.
Everyone braces for impact, and you get that whole, like, you know, they're all swearing things they're going to do differently if they survive. And again, that's, I'm going to stop being so vain. I'm going to stop being so scared of everything. I'm never going to complain ever again. Plane lands.
This made me uncomfortable. And out of all of us, I have zero fear of flying. I know you all get weird. Clearly, they're all going to be okay, or the show wouldn't exist. I'm getting anxiety sitting there by myself. I'm like, what the fuck?
No. So I thought about this. Now, if you put this scenario just, you know, around now instead, they all died and met up with Betty White in heaven.
Whoa.
In hell? And you're saying Cleveland is hell?
Cleveland is hell, but that is not where Betty White is. Betty White is not in hell.
But not our Cleveland listeners. We love you.
I do like the idea, though, of this show is, like, their heaven is Cleveland with Betty White living in the house behind them. Like, what a weird heaven that is, but sure, why not? Fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's a great heaven.
I just think it'd be a better heaven if it was Betty White from, like, 30 years earlier, though. You'd have less fun with frail Betty White.
So they land, and then that's when the captain does announce to them officially, like, you know, we've safely landed in Cleveland. And they all go, Cleveland? And then we get to the intro. The intro is, like, a really quick, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
It's just a title card with the skyline.
Really generic, kind of quick jingle. Nothing special. Fine for the show. Although you would think something like TV Land would play into, like, the nostalgia of, like, full intros and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you're a 4-time loser. You want something like that, you know?
Maybe they have a longer one when it's not the pilot.
You know what I'm perfect for this? Reba's I'm a survivor.
Well, unfortunately, that's already in use at the time.
That does work, yeah.
So now out of the intro, we get to the next scene, and it's all the girls walking into, like, this, you know, bar in the middle of Cleveland. Not the Clevelander. Me, Ferg, and Nick once shared a few beers in Cleveland.
I got hammered. I didn't have a few
Yeah,
beers.
$5 pitchers at the Clevelander.
And they were like 5-gallon buckets.
At one point, she says, like, I Googled Cleveland and hammered, and this is what came up. If you Google Cleveland and hammered, all you get is like 15 pages of weather results being like, Cleveland's going to get hammered with lake effect snow tonight. And then one article written in like the Cleveland Post of some woman being like, they couldn't just have named a real bar. Like, that would have been nice for Cleveland. It's like, lady, it's a TV show. Nothing is real in this. What are you so mad about?
Hey, they name dropped Drew Carey, though.
Could have did a lot for our economy.
Right.
Did any weird pictures of Drew Carey come up?
None did, but I do think the fun thing they should have done here is when they were at the bar, there should have been like buzz beer bottles, right? Like that would have been like a nice touchstone to give them.
Depending on licensing and stuff. But yeah.
Did anyone else think this was going to be a gay bar? Like that was going to be like when they would go, everybody's looking at us, but in a different way. Like I thought it was the twist. It was
well, no, this is when it reveals why the show's called Hot in Cleveland, which I never knew. So, you know, you have all these women from LA that are all like in their like 50s or so, I assume, like when they're 40s or 50s when the show came out.
Also, they're like, it's a dive bar. That is not a dive bar.
It's not a dive bar. Are you kidding me?
Fuck you. That is not a dive bar. There are way too many lights on and everyone has a job. It's not a dive bar.
Although they live in LA. And where to assume that they're from like a more upscale part of LA, not like the, you know, not the outskirts. So they go from this Hollywood life to being in what they consider a dive bar.
This is such bullshit, though. It's like they say, oh, they're not wanted in LA. There's no shortage of young, like, struggling actors that would love to, like, bang attractive old ladies to support them to try to get jobs.
They're just people who would be into these women. They're attractive women. It's hard to say that, like, people wouldn't want to be into them. And I get them being, like, maybe they want something different than what they would get, but, like, it's hard in these situations. You're like, these beautiful women are saying nobody wants them. Like, that's impossible.
They act like they're like, we're all in our 40s. Nobody wants us anymore. We got to go to Cleveland where these plumbers all want us.
Where Bo from the Dukes of Hazzard will fuck me. You're like, okay, sure.
Generally speaking, because what is going on here, I don't know if we actually said it out loud, but they're getting a lot of attention from all the men at this bar because they're used to being in LA where it's all supermodels and young, and you see it with Melanie, whose husband is now going with a much younger girl, to being in like a more middle America, like where the standard is not quite as high as the LA Hollywood scene. So all three of these women, it's not like they're not objectively beautiful. I think that's the thing is in the show, it's obviously these are three beautiful women, but they're not seen that way when they're compared to the younger, most beautiful women in the world are all flooding to that city. So now when they're in Cleveland, they stand out a little bit better.
I just think they're going to the wrong bars in LA.
They're super hot in Cleveland.
So yeah, so that's what we find out is hot in Cleveland means that they're hot when they're in Cleveland. Not that they're not hot in LA, but again, it's just I think it's LA's always about what's new and younger and
hotter in Cleveland. Probably
hotter in Cleveland. Maybe that was the original shop name, but it didn't quite work. So they're sitting there and they see some guys admiring them, and they walk over to the bar and like they're feeling good, like you know all these guys are like giving them attention and stuff, and you know for what they are, they don't have to do all these like extra things to get attention. So when they get to the bar, they order chili fries.
I hate this line when they order the chili. Does LeBron jump high? It's like, all right, we get it. You're in Cleveland. I don't think everyone just makes LeBron references every 2 seconds.
Well, I was thinking about this, right? So, because she says, "Are your chili fries good?" She's like, "Can LeBron James jump?" But in fairness, this is about 7 years into LeBron's career, right? At this point, he is the hottest thing in sports. It is if you're in Cleveland, and we've been in Cleveland. I mean, what else are they bragging about? No offense to our Cleveland listeners, but like it's
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I don't know if it's different. I was underwhelmed when I went, but I get it. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's an obvious reference, but at least it's still like while he's in like, you know, he's dominant in sports. It's not like
Jay. They have the Miz.
Oh, fuck that! If they're in the Miz wrestle, I'd be like, we're leaving. These chili fries are terrible.
The Miz wrestle?
No, I'm not going to order that.
That was the line.
To be fair, that feels more like a TV landline. Get the Miz wrestle. But I would love if they were all just like, he's a terrible wrestler and a fucking annoying nuisance. No, we're leaving.
All right, no disrespect, but I think the Miz is great. All right,
I do too.
I have nothing against him.
To Jay's point, though, I don't follow sports. I know who LeBron James is. Like, can he jump? My assumption would have been like, I guess, yeah, probably, right? He plays sports. Like, a sports guy who I've heard of probably can jump.
I mean, they could have gone with other like famous people from Cleveland, like Phil Donahue or something like that.
All I got is wrestlers. It's Dolph Ziggler, Johnny Gargano.
Like, can Dolph Ziggler do comedy? But like, we're leaving.
And then the fact that, like, honestly, like that this is 14 years ago and LeBron is still one of like the better players in the league. It's like an anomaly in sports, but for basketball at least.
Yeah, that's true.
He's played so long that the shorts should have changed their length by now, and they haven't. And that's kind of a weird thing.
Joe's like patiently waiting for them to get obnoxiously short again.
That's when sports looked right.
What are you gonna do if they get longer, Joe?
I laugh because they're all going to trip on themselves, and basketball will be super funny to watch. They're all falling all over the place.
They order the chili cheese fries and some non-light beers because they're really splurging. We find out that the gentleman at the table asked if they would join them. And I think it's funny because instead of that, like, it should have been like, oh, and these boys bought you around, and then they should have like waved them over or something. Because it's just like, you don't walk up to a bartender and say, like, when did that exchange happen? Hey, when those girls show up.
No, the bartender starts over with them, and they're pointing.
Oh, did she start over? I
Yeah,
didn't notice
they
that.
show it.
Yeah, they do.
These guys bought your chili fries.
They walk over to the guys, and all the guys stand up when they're approaching, and they're like, oh, are you guys leaving? Like, no, we're like pulling chairs out. So like, again, they feel very pampered. This is a world that they're not used to. Like, what's going on with all these gentlemen here? And they're sitting down with the guys, and one of the guys even like recognizes, you know, Victoria from the soaps. Actually, a couple of them do. Like, they watch the show. Like,
Again, more bullshit because one sentence to call them, these are all men's men. They work trades, they're plumbers, etc., but they watch soap operas.
one said that he was laid up from work for a while, so he was like hurt and like, you know, you're home that time of the day.
I still don't think he's gonna pick soap operas to watch.
R.I.P. We all watched Boston Public together, and that is not a show that we would have watched as teenagers normally, but it was
Speak
on.
for yourself.
But we did, and OC was another one, right? It was on after wrestling. We were just there, and TV was on, we watched it, right? And it sucks you in. So I can believe it a little.
We're not manly men.
That's also very true. None of us are manly men.
Don't let the beards fool you.
I'm wearing a pink shirt as we speak, and they're not manly men. Also, one of those guys, I like to call it out when it's an Office reference, because I know that we all love The Office so much.
Yeah.
The guy, Patrick, he's one of the cops who tries to arrest Toby for his caprese salad in the Frame Toby episode.
That's right. Yep.
You're gonna go with that and not bring up John Schneider?
Oh, Bo Duke? I already brought him up. I mentioned it was like you're trying to fuck the guy from the Dukes of Hazzard.
See, you know him from that. I know him more from Smallville because he was Jonathan Kent.
Oh, okay. He's Papa Superman?
Yep.
That's which character, Hank?
Yeah. The one we find, like the main guy who we find out is with Valerie Bertinelli.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so they're all getting to know one another, and they're all chatting, and obviously things are going really well in that regard. Hank, the one we were just saying, is the one that's sitting next to Melanie, and they're obviously hitting it off. So are you an actress too? It's like, oh no, it's like, you know, that's when we find out she's, you know, the writer, and she wrote this book about all the things you need to do at least once in your life, and he's like, oh, you're as pretty as that one actress, and like, I can't remember her name. I thought there was like a missed opportunity I thought this was going to be like a third wall joke where he was going to say like that actress from and then list something she was in.
Right.
But instead he just blanks out and she goes, doesn't matter.
Kind of weird that she's the author of the book of all things you should do in life when they're about
Doesn't
to die.
do
She's
them?
the one that's never spontaneous and she doesn't go out and do things.
Right.
You could be an author and not do stuff.
Right. But the whole point of the book is like all these things you should be doing in life. So like usually if it's a nonfiction book, you want the author to be credible.
It should have been she's done all this stuff and she never settled down anywhere to make a life for herself. That's what it should have been. And maybe that's why her relationship wasn't good and all this. And that's why I'm going to settle in Cleveland with this guy I just met. I'm going to practice what I preach, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I don't know anything about Yeti erotica, and yet ChatGPT
knows plenty.
Yeah, did you ever expose him for that shit?
Yeah, I think we did it. I think we put a clip of it up.
All we know is that Gordo edited AI erotica, and basically the only parts Gordo knew for sure is when he deeply described what a dog's dick looked like and attached it to the Yeti.
This is true.
Yeti with the canine dick.
Good old Yeti dog dick.
it's now canon.
Imagine if this is the first episode of ours you've listened to. Context.
I also imagine it might be the last.
I liked that until the dog dick talk started.
These guys talk about everything. Old TV and dog
But
dick.
mainly dicks.
I love Betty White and dog dicks. This is for me.
Just make that the intro. That one thing. Nothing else around it.
I have those things now where you can press a button on a gravestone and it says something for you better die after all of us. Otherwise, that is not your grave.
How do we change Ferg's doorbell at home?
I don't have a doorbell.
Ferg, you need a Tesla, and we need to change your turn signals.
Okay, buy me a Tesla. That'll be a hilarious prank.
Buy me a $100,000 car. Oh, guys, we used our fucking t-shirt money to buy Frank Ferg.
Gordo's homeless. Like, got him.
Gordo's now living inside the Tesla in Ferg's driveway.
Speaking of that, buy a t-shirt, S1E1pod.com, so we can prank Ferg and buy him a Tesla.
Kind of prank is that? What are you, fucking Mr. Beast? So anyways, they're all talking. This is again, they start talking about how Joy's job, she's the eyebrow queen of Beverly Hills. She's kind of known for doing a lot of different celebrities. So she does Oprah's eyebrows, Cher, Ryan Seacrest. Well, she says mostly women and then brings up Ryan Seacrest.
Women. She throws some fucking shrapnel at Seacrest here.
And then the guys are asking if they're all unattached. It's like, at the moment, yeah. And then Melanie's going through a divorce, and Victoria's been married like 20 times. Like, why would you tell all these dudes this, by the way?
Yeah, like, that's too much backstory for right now.
I feel like if she's that famous of an actress...
You can wiki her, yeah.
With her, probably. But, like, Melanie, like, why would, like... She's going through a divorce right now. Like, that's not
her kids are in college. She owes $17,000 in her house. Like, that's too much information.
I would say recently single. I wouldn't say going through a divorce. I feel like that comes with more weight when you're meeting someone for the first time.
Well, in their heads, they're on their way out the next day.
I guess that's true, yeah. You're putting your best self forward.
This is when the bartender shows up with the beer and fries. And one of the guys like, only cheese fries? You girls are light eaters, huh? It's like, oh, wow, this place is magical.
See, in my mind, dive bars don't have food at all.
They do, but they don't have food you'd eat, and you certainly wouldn't order cheese fries.
And again, this isn't a dive bar. It's a local watering hole, but it's not a dive bar.
No, I know, yeah. But
this is like a pub restaurant. Yeah, this is not a dive bar. But also, like, I haven't been able to eat cheese fries and then have sex within the next 48 hours in, like, 25 years. There's no way that anybody of this age group is being able to do that.
That's weird because Ferg's literally had sex while eating cheese fries.
In a tub.
Ferg's had sex with cheese fries.
And they never called him again the next morning.
If there's anything I love more than Betty White and dog dicks.
You cheddar believe they didn't give him the courtesy of calling him the next day.
Love a good cheese pun.
So as all the girls and guys are cheersing as they're eating their cheese fries and having their beers, you cut to like the next morning, and now you see Joy and Victoria, and they're like both laying in their bed at the hotel room, and they're like, you know, both a little notably like hungover a little bit, and they're like, oh, what were we thinking? Like alcohol and all that salt and trans fat. And there's like an ongoing joke throughout this whole scene where Joy can't stop licking her skin.
Too many times. Way too many times.
It's too many times.
They did it like 4 or 5 times, and I like every like
that should have been a one-time joke, and I thought once was I thought it was funny once, and then they did it. How many?
So
like
did
4?
the live studio audience, because the live studio audience pops so hard the first time she does it, and then by the end they're just like, you're licking your arm again. Okay.
Was this live or was this canned?
No, it told us, live studio audience.
Okay.
Which I do appreciate. We should have talked about that in the beginning. I feel like in the old episodes we used to talk about that a lot, or at least try to figure out if it was live or not. And
at this point, we've watched so many, I don't notice it anymore.
I only notice it if Tim Allen takes his shirt off and that one guy is super fucking stoked.
Yeah.
So yeah, as she's licking herself, they go to call Melanie to see like how she's doing. And when they call her room, they find out from the front desk that she's never even checked into her room. Like, should we be worried? Like, oh no, it's Melanie. She never does anything crazy. I feel like all the more so you should be worried if she never does anything crazy and she doesn't check into the room.
Yeah.
Also, why are they sharing a room and she's stuck by herself?
It's
Good question, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like her getaway trip, I guess.
Wait, are they sharing a room or was the door just open between two rooms?
They were sharing a bed. I mean, when we
Yeah,
start
but
the
she
scene.
came out of another room.
No, she came in through the front.
But how did Valerie come in then? Because she never checked in.
Listen, again, there's like loose holes here. Like, yeah, how does she know the room to go to and just walk right in the door?
So I thought the joke was going to be, oh, let me ask Valerie. And she was going to look to the floor and be like, hey, Valerie. Because the way she looked down, I thought that was going to be the joke. But
Well, what we need here is, as they're worrying about it, that's when Melanie enters the room and she's in Hank's Cleveland Indians shirt. R.I.P. Cleveland Indians? How do people feel about that in general? I miss it because of the nostalgia, because it's a team I grew up like.
What are they now?
The
Guardians.
The Guardians. That awful name.
For me, it's more nostalgia to Major League. Like, it's not being somebody from Cleveland. Like, Major League is just a huge movie.
The Major League movies, yeah.
I actually thought you'd wear your Rick Vaughn shirt tonight, Jay.
Oh, you think that fits right now? Like,
Jay has shaved his head into whatever weird haircut that he has. It's not a mohawk. It's got weird side things in the back.
Zigzags in the back. Yeah, it was once Wild Thing Rick Vaughn for Halloween. I have the jersey somewhere. It would I would have to not eat until, this is our December, this is our Christmas episode. I'd have to not eat until the 4th of July if I wanted to be able to put that on.
Well, that's baseball season, so there you go.
So, but yeah, she walks in. So now we know that she hooked up with Hank, stole his t-shirt, I guess. And then it's one thing when you walk out of a bedroom in like the guy's shirt, but like she left in his shirt and left her shirt behind.
well, memento.
I get that they want you to have the visual, right? When she walks in the room, so you know right away. But it was like, again, it's not, it doesn't quite make sense if you think about it.
That's definitely a like new relationship thing too. Like, I'm gonna wear their shirt. Where like 2 months into the relationship, be like, your shirt smells so bad. Why would I put your shirt on me?
I've
like,
never had that happen to me.
Really? Because I have. If my wife will wash a shirt of mine and want to wear it, and then she'll be like, it reactivated, which means that like it was clean, and then the heat made whatever awful sweat smell I made reappear once the fucking sun hit it. So she can't wear any of my stuff. Maybe that's just me. I sweat so much.
Joe, you're an interesting case in that, like, people can look back at our clips throughout the years. You're either the most dressed of all of us, like we'll have like a button up on, or you're wearing a shirt that literally is being held together by like, one burst of air and it's going to fall apart. It's like in its dying days.
It literally depends on how late of my day I'm working. Because if it's like a day off or like I got off early, I'm wearing a shirt that's going to fall apart. If I have to be on video calls all day, I'm still wearing like a very nice button up.
Yeah, it's either a button up or like just a yellow rag that's held on by a prayer.
Joe just gets one Ric Flair chop and it disintegrates.
I just moved recently, and I, you're packing obviously, and I don't know how, but like I accumulated like an insane amount of t-shirts and underwear, and so I'm starting to like purge them as I use them. I'm like, all right, these I have pulled underwear out of like folded laundry that have like that holes in them that I could stick my leg in. I'm like, why did I wash and then fold?
That's
this?
where you put your legs, Nick.
No, but I mean, like, it's in the crotch, and I still actively washed and folded them.
Peeing.
It's part of the design. No, I'm with you. I'm good about that now. If like the waistband goes, I'm like right in the trash, right?
I've gotten better about that. Like, and I'm saying very, very recently I've gotten better about that.
I'm trying not to have like an old guy conversation, but like socks and underwear is so unnecessarily expensive that it's like when you go to the store and just buy like a new pack of socks and underwear and like some deodorant, you're like, why is this $45?
Dude, yeah, it's bad. Also, I went into Target the other day. I talked about this in one of our chats. I don't know if it was this one, but all the socks and underwear are locked up.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
so luckily there was somebody working right there, and I said, hey, I would like to grab a couple packages of socks, and she opened the thing and gave me the socks. that I could have then stole. What is the point of the fucking locked case if I'm just going to be handed the things anyway?
Because the girl who works at Target doesn't give a shit. It's just to stop people from smash and grab.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like to that extra step might deter, but I don't know. It seems like a colossal waste of time and money.
I understand that they have theft and all this stuff, and like people probably like rip and steal like single pairs, and depending on like where the store is, they might have like more theft than others. But things like that, like when you go into the Target he's talking about, that's like closest to where we live, they have so much stuff like locked up now, like, you know, like the detergents and shit. Like,
yeah,
it's like,
everything's locked up.
Shaving creams and like aftershaves and stuff locked up.
that stuff is so like the awkward having to run and find someone to do it. It's like, now I'm like, you know what? Fuck, I'm just gonna buy it on Amazon. I'm just like, I
Yeah.
don't want to
Yeah.
deal
Yeah.
with the thing.
So I went there. I'm trying to get deodorant. It takes me an hour to find a guy. I ask him. He doesn't speak English. I ended up just leaving and getting it on Amazon.
Yeah, it's just,
Because
it's
I
like,
could
it's
not
too
find
much.
another person.
So speaking of underwear, I recently bought a pair of underwear, and now they make them with a pocket on the side that you can put your phone in.
That's weird. Are you
Oh,
sure
I
you
thought
bought
you were-
underwear?
I did because they were like
Are those just short
tactical-
pants? What are you doing?
No. They were like tactical short.
When you said pocket, I thought, because I know they make the ones for like your balls, like the sheath underwear. I thought that's what you were going with.
No, there's like a legit pocket. Haynes has been like, look, now a pocket. And I was like, ooh, a pocket. I can put my phone in it.
I get ones all the time as like ads from American Eagle where like it's a snowman and your dick goes in the nose. I'm like, why? Who wants that? And then like your dick is separated from. It's very weird. I get it as a novelty, and I thought it was just like a Halloween thing. But then like it's every like they just make underwear like that now. It just seems very weird to me.
Yeah, it's weird that they make snowmans with real baby carrots.
I was gonna say I try to pair on now. It's like I can't make his nose work. This just reminds me that my favorite dumb Christmas song is Rodney Carrington's "Who Put the Dick on the Snowman," and my wife fucking hates it. And there's a live version where, so I don't know if you guys have heard this song. It's like 12 seconds long, but it's about a guy being like, "Daddy, we made a snowman. It looks like you," and they put a tiny little dick on it. And when he yells at the kids, he goes, "Hey!" So if you watch like the live version from YouTube, like every Christmas,
Where would we have seen? I'm just curious. Like, where would we have heard this?
You've never heard of Rob Carrington? Or
oh, I didn't know who this was either. It just like popped up like a couple years ago on like a Spotify Christmas list because it's like
Okay,
he's like a
alright,
comedy country guy. I don't know any of his other songs. Oh no, the only other song I know is the other song that the Spotify then was like a song said "Don't look now, Mama's got her boobs out." So I think that's his whole gimmick. This like funny joke naked Christmas songs, but. Watch the YouTube video with the cartoon. It's like literally 20 seconds long. And when the dad sees the little dick of the snowman and goes, "Hey!" Just imagine me doing that to my wife and getting punched fucking every day from Thanksgiving through
stick with a
Christmas.
Muppet Christmas Carol soundtrack. Thank you.
At least I guess this is the Christmas episode. But yeah, to get away from all this underwear and dick talk,
Never.
back to the hotel.
Back to
and
Betty White and Dog Dick.
Melanie's all excited about her night with Hank, and now she wants to move to Cleveland. And the other girl's like, "Are you out of your mind? You don't just move to Cleveland because of like this one night stand
She's
guy that
right,
you just
too.
met."
This is the most dumb, impulsive shit I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Incorrect. Nope, incorrect. Because I will say one of the big things they have for this is looking at the real estate.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
so that was at least there's some logic there, right? Yeah, because
Well, yeah.
she shows this listing for. Although I'm confused though, because she was showing the listing for a house to buy.
But it's rent to month to month rent.
Yeah, month. So she's renting now, right? Like,
But not even like a year lease. You're renting month to month, which means
But
you
not
have
even-
no
yeah, but to-
stability.
But to not even jump ahead there, they're looking in this moment. They're looking at the listing and like, there's got to be a missing zero, you know, like, so living in LA versus Cleveland, yes, I'm sure is considerably cheaper. So
This is 15 years ago, right? And the market for housing is fucking bananas now. I went on Zillow this afternoon. You really can't do a good search by square footage because I mentioned that's like 7,000 square feet, which is
7,000 square feet is fucking huge.
a mansion, right? But so I just looked 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom. What you'd imagine these 3 women could live in comfortably, each have their own bathroom, right? Anywhere on the East Coast out here, that would be like an $800,000 house. You can find beautiful houses with yards, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. I found multiple that were like $230,000
in Cleveland.
Yeah, to a point where I was
now.
like, do we just fucking move? Because if you put 10% down on that, your mortgage would be nothing. It's fucking crazy.
Cleveland.
But when people are always like, oh, move to Montana because it's cheap to live. I'm like, if you want to live in a city and have a huge house, you could move to Cleveland for like really cheap money. I mean, because if you wanted like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath or like a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, you're looking at like $200,000. That is not a lot of money as an overhead.
Joe moves to Cleveland and then realizes the Miz is his neighbor.
I fucking hate that guy.
As they're looking at that listing, by the way, is when Joy notices a photo of Oprah that's also on the newspaper, and she can tell that someone else did her eyebrows. So this is pretty earth crashing to her because she's known as the one who does Oprah's eyebrows. So
How is she gonna get mad at that though? She was going away to Paris for a week. They gotta do their eyebrows like often.
Daily?
Not daily, but a lot.
No, but like if you want something, right? Like say you go to the same coffee shop every day and then one day you go and they're closed because they fucking had a pipe issue. You wouldn't be mad. You go somewhere else.
Yeah, but she's Oprah. Like she's in the limelight. Like,
but she did just leave like a day earlier. So you would assume if she had it done, there would have been like some sort of
I'm just trying to go to bat for Oprah, all right?
Yeah, I've got no problem against Oprah. She needs to get her eyebrows done. She gets her eyebrows done.
Now she's worried about like her business because, you know, with the Oprah clientele and the people who follow her might go to this other place. She's like, this is the work of that Russian chick. She can like tell by her eyebrows, you know, the other eyebrow people in town.
That's not
And
my
she's like,
arch.
Yeah, bloody foreigners, obviously.
I do really love the expression, she's been plucked by someone else.
I don't know if we're probably all assuming here, but she's not American. She's a British actress. So when she's going bloody foreigners.
Yeah, I assume that's like the joke there is that because she's so obviously British.
Yeah. Studio audience loves that joke.
Yeah, we're letting our Frasier fandom like confuse the fact that we may need to explain that to other people who don't know who she is. But so now it's like, well, maybe looking at some cheap real estate will cheer you up. So now we cut to them visiting the house that's for sale because that's how that works. As soon as she walks into, you know, like they're walking out and she's like, oh, I love it. I'll take it. Like you don't just see a house in the paper, go for it, walk through. Yep, I'll take it. Like it just doesn't fucking work that way.
Maybe in Cleveland it does.
Unless she has enough money that was she pre-approved for a mortgage or something already? Like what's going on?
Again, if it's 2015 or 2010, so we're 15 years later and the market is crazy and the house like that is only $230,000. It's probably like $150,000. Like you don't need to fucking be approved for that. There's like, we assume you can pay $400 a month for 30 years, you know?
She has the money for a Paris trip with her, so.
She used her miles for that though, so she cashed in those for free.
No, I'm not talking about the airline. I'm talking about living in Paris for however long it was supposed to.
For 2 weeks in Paris.
She
expensive,
even makes the comment that 2 weeks in Paris is less than a month here or whatever.
But yeah, that's the confusing part because at one point it was to buy a house. Now, flash forward, it's like to rent the place. Like I don't really
the
get
month to month makes no sense to me. Yeah,
I think that no, it kind of does because maybe she came to her senses.
No, you don't. Well,
maybe she was gonna buy. They had a lot of time in between the scene where they decided, and all of a sudden they're in the house.
Sure.
So we don't know what happened between them. Maybe they got to it and said, you know what, at least for now, make sure this is right for you. Don't just buy a fucking house.
This is a very cookie cutter sitcom. I do think this show suffers from a little bit of lazy writing. Not that it needs to be super smart, but there are a lot of holes that you just kind of excuse as you watch it. I think this is one of them. You guys notice the realtor?
Tim Bagley?
Yeah.
I only know him from Employee of the Month.
We just covered, did you do the Mr. Robinson episode with us?
Oh, he was in that. That's right. I do remember.
He was like
that
the principal or the
Yeah,
superintendent or whichever one he was.
But he will
Super, I
always
think.
just be the store manager to me.
He's in like everything. He's got like 200 credits, but he's right now one of the main characters in that Somebody Somewhere show that I know it's not a sitcom technically, so we can't cover it, but I do always bring it up. Like it's worth watching on HBO. It's really good. And he's great in it.
He's in a movie called The Fluffer.
Once she agrees to take the place, that's when he's like, oh, great, but there is just one thing I should mention about the place, and that's when we meet Elka, played by Betty White, and she's like, why are you renting to prostitutes? And Joe, I think you said it earlier when we were doing the comparison, but she is definitely like, to me, she's the Sophia now.
Yep, she's Sophia. This is Golden Girls, and she's Sophia. It's just that people look way different and act way different at this age than they did in 1985.
So she's the caretaker for the house, and she like lives like in a little guest cottage in the back, which is weird because if she was truly only originally supposed to just do the pilot episode, like how do you write that character up? Yeah, she lives in the house. But yeah, so she comes in, she's like very blunt, you know.
This scene could have used a fart.
What?
Disagree. Wholeheartedly disagree.
Here we go.
If she came in and farted, I was thinking about this. It would have made it even better.
He's not wrong. That would have been funny, right? Like, obviously,
no, I disagree.
No, he is wrong.
He's wrong.
He's very wrong here.
that would be
Betty White just
objectively funny. I'm sorry. If you don't think that Betty White just randomly farting is funny, then you've got darkness inside of you that can't be brightened by anything.
No,
It's just sad.
I think the reality is this goes back to a couple weeks where Gordo admitted on the show that sometimes if he doesn't talk for a little while, he just feels the need to say things. And I think that's what this is.
But if Betty
It
White
was pretty perfect on its own. You know what this needed? A fart.
I'm just saying, all I could think of when Betty White just came out and looked at everybody was just if she farted. It would have been.
It would be funny if she just stood there silently and went, that would have been funny. Yes, it would have been.
Oh, is that you, dear?
Welcome to heaven.
I'm going to still say disagree on that one.
In Cleveland.
I don't even think hypothetically it's funny. Like, yeah, like it's but anyways.
I just think this conversation's funny. I do not agree with Gordo.
So the realtor leaves now that Elka's showed up. And Melanie's introducing herself to her. It's like, oh, I just leased a place. She's like, oh, I've been the caretaker at this house for 50 years. But you can kick me out. No worries. You know, if you can escape from the Nazis, you can handle anything.
It's crazy to think of how old Betty White was, that she lived, like when Hitler died, she was 23. Like she went from Hitler dying to being like when we were drunk messes in our early 20s to living through like being on a streaming show. Like what a weird time span to live through and be so cognizant for.
Once she started hearing people talking about fucking Skibbity in Ohio, she's like, I'm out.
I don't want to make it to 100. I'm fucking done.
It was a good run. They continue to talk, and she sees Victoria, and she goes, aren't you that girl from the show? And she's like, oh, yes, I am. Are you a fan? She goes, no.
Her delivery here is just so deadpan and perfect.
Yeah, it was like a great comedic pause right there. And then she's like, when it was canceled, I said good riddance. But I do like the one with Susan Lucci. There was, which is a callback to earlier. Susan Lucci gets mentioned for like winning an Emmy over her.
Susan Lucci was on that show for like 40 years too, which is fucking crazy, but like the best job ever. Like what job security? But like I'll play the same character on TV 5 days a week for 40 fucking years.
Wasn't that the thing too? Like when she must have won her Emmy right around this time, but wasn't she like historically snubbed for all eternity and then finally won one like later on?
Yeah, it was just like years of daytime Emmys where like she probably should have won.
And then Joy goes, does anyone else smell pot? And she's like, what are you, a cop? No. Then what's it to you?
That's my favorite line of the whole thing. I do love that like she's a Nazi escapee who loves sex and pot. Like, I don't know, what a great weird character.
Right around now is when Melanie's phone rings, so she like walks off for a second because it's Hank. She's going like Elka is saying like, that's shameful. I haven't even looked at another man since 1949. When the husband dies, you die. And one of the other girls like, but you're not dead. Like inside you die. You still maintain a shell. And she's like touching herself in a way that like was awkward.
This is like a very seductive sexual thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Melanie walks back. Also, it's like, why didn't they correct her and say, oh, she's not, like her husband didn't die, they just divorced. But anyways, Melanie comes back and says, I have a date, like first date in 25 years. He wants me to meet him at the Wendie Highland Marina. And she's asking Elka, do you know where that is? She's like, yeah, it's where whores go.
I love the idea of like, where do whores go? The marina. Which I do love too, because what do they have?
Well, it is full of semen.
Full of semen and slip. You slip it in.
A lot of big docks too.
In the dinghy.
And a dinghy.
Those dinghies don't fit in the American Eagle underwear, unfortunately.
That's the end of my boating term knowledge. And it's just because scratch my dinghy.
I was like, you're either doing Rodney from Caddyshack or you're doing Chris Farley in Tommy Boy.
Now Melanie's going, well, apparently I have a caretaker, whatever that means. I have a date. And Hank is making me dinner on his boat. And Victoria's like, plumbers in Cleveland can afford boats?
Boats are historically expensive.
Yeah.
They are, but it's not, they're obtainable. Like you could.
But they're expensive upkeep, though.
Sure.
I mean, the joke of boat has always been a joke is a hole in the ocean you throw money into. That's what everybody calls a boat, right? Like, so like to have it, I don't know. Also, I like boats. I don't hate being on a boat so much if I can see land. But the second you're on a boat and you can't see land, my brain starts being like, nope, get off.
It's funny. We've talked about this, I think, way back. But like for a group of us who have spent, we all grew up together, the majority of our lives living right on the water in a town that has 3 different yacht clubs. We somehow ended up, and I would say we were all pretty lucky in that we had a pretty good sized group of friends growing up. How did we end up with like our group was compiled of the only people in town with no boats? Like we didn't have one fucking boat amongst the entire group of us that we could go on boat trips once in a while.
We grew up in a peninsula. There's more water than land.
My uncle had one, but it was a rowboat.
Every time my sister and I drink, we talk about getting a boat, and then we don't.
Yeah, Ferg, you live on like the beach.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Like the upkeep's a lot, storing it's a lot, gas is fucking crazy. Yeah.
They're so fucking hard on you now too if they catch you like drinking on a boat or anything. Like you can't even have fun anymore like you used to. Like they'll just fucking arrest you so fast. Like not drunk, but like, are you drinking on a boat? Like fuck you.
Well, it's still an OUI. That's the thing. I think like you can drink, but like if you're the operator of the boat.
Yeah, if you're driving,
is that how that works? I'm speaking out of turn. I don't actually know the rules.
I assume so. It's
I have no idea.
Driving technically.
Yeah, I think
know why we don't know? Because we're all poor non-boat people. Because we don't know the answer to this question.
On that note, why is it illegal for passengers in cars to not be able to drink?
You can in certain places.
Yeah, it's not everywhere. You can't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe had a story about it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they talked about it on a White Pages tour. We were like in like Mississippi, and they're like, "You can drink in this county." And I was in the back seat, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And I was like, "Well, get that beer down quick, because we're out of this county in like 3 minutes."
So Melanie's like, I don't know, she's really excited about life right now, and they're like, "Are you really gonna like move here just for this like one guy that you went out with once?" And she's like, "I don't know, I just feel really alive, and like I don't know, maybe at our age, like you're supposed to just pounce on things and." My kids are in college, and Anders, who's her ex-husband, he's clearly moved on. So, why rush back to LA, like in a very empty house? Like, which, like, I understand, I get where she's coming from, but I think there's a point where it's like I need to like continue on with my life. And then there's like impulsive to a degree of like, this is insanity.
And I'm like, I'm not sure how rich they are. Like, we know she's an author and they were flying first class, but that was on miles. Like, is she loaded to the point that she can afford a second house? Or is it just like she's got a rich actor friend and she's the poor one? Like,
I think that's why they went with that whole month-to-month lease thing. It was to buy enough time story-wise to be like, well, theoretically she's moving in for a month, but it's not a furnished apartment either. Like, I feel like that was another detail that should have been like, oh, and the place comes fully furnished.
There's just too much shit in this show they didn't care to fill in. Like, and it's just... It's everything's a cop out, and it's my main problem with this show. It's really
like
annoying.
this is TV land. Most of our audience are 70 years old. They won't ask questions.
They're not wrong either, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not wrong, and it probably isn't a big deal because I mean, but by the basis of doing what we do here on this podcast, it's agitating to watch this.
I feel like if you're at like a doctor's office or like a real estate office or anything, like you go between like TV Land or Property Brothers is just on in the background. So most people watching this are just like there to do something.
Well, what's funny? It's like, as we say it too, and like kind of like when you deep dive and try to use logic for shows like this, like right at this point, right? She leaves because she's going to go out on this date. Do they rent 2 cars? Like they went and visited this house. She left. How are the other 2 leaving? Like what the fuck's going on?
There's a lot of logistical question marks.
I say Uber.
Sure.
I mean, that's obviously Ubering to me. It's 2010.
Were we Ubering in 2010?
I don't think we were Ubering.
It was probably
2010.
more likely she was hailing a cab.
Actually, yeah, I know for a fact we weren't Ubering in 2010 because that's when we were going in and out of Boston the most, like in those years. We were like 23, 24.
Yeah, there was definitely no Uber.
Yeah, Gordo was fighting with cab drivers.
Don't miss that.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, they're fun stories.
Yeah, they're fun in hindsight to talk about. They were not fun to live through in real life.
Yeah.
Now that Melanie's gone and the other girls are just in their friend's new apartment that has nothing in it and no way to leave, it's like, so I was like, what are you doing? Talking to Victoria. It's like, I'm doing what Melanie should have done. I'm Googling Hank. And they put in Hank Plumber Cleveland, Wendie Highland Marina. And they're doing a little quick cyber stalking. And like, here's an image of him from a month ago with his wife.
She's also, by the way, doing this search on a sidekick, which is very 2010.
Neat.
I did like those. I liked when phones used to just kick open a keypad for you.
Yeah, it made a really satisfying noise too when you opened it.
So if you do Google that, H-Jack's fastest plumber and HVAC in town comes up.
Nice.
You remember to add Wendie Highland Marina.
I did Google that. That is not existing, but I think the place they're going for is something called the Oasis Marina.
They said Wendie Highland.
Well, I'm sure if I read further into that article where the lady was mad they didn't mention a real bar, she's probably like, that's not even what the marina's called. Like, who gives a shit, lady?
Hank Klink Plumbing, LLC.
Are there any pictures with him and his wife?
We can look.
I'm going to
Mrs.
assume.
Clink?
Yeah.
Is there a Mr. Clank?
Yeah,
Miss
with
Clank.
Mrs. Clink.
A lot of hot in Cleveland pictures.
I'll say, I don't know if I expected the twist in the episode that, and this guy has a wife.
I don't know. I felt like that was coming, honestly. I felt like this couldn't be just that she's going to live happily ever after, obviously. And like,
No, I guess there would be some sort of a twist. But I thought maybe not one that would make it so impossible for them to be together. Like, because this could have been a will they, won't they, and something else could have kept them apart temporarily.
technically, though, it's not impossible for them to be together.
Yeah, the way it's announced, that's true. And now we flash to the actual date itself when we see the two of them like having dinner on the boat.
Also, nobody wants to learn to tango. Like, unless you're Gomez and Morticia Adams, it's 2010. Like, that is not like a couples thing. Like, that's what weirdos do, right?
Because they're going over like, what's on his list? Because basically, is this in reference to like her book, like things like you've always wanted to do, or?
I think so, yeah. He's like, well, I wrote this book about this. What did you want to do?
Well, he's in a loveless marriage, and that's the dance of love. Makes sense.
No, the dance of love is the lambada, the forbidden dance. It was so forbidden, they made 2 movies about it at the exact same time.
Suck it, Ferg.
Remember the episode of The Fresh Prince where he thinks Uncle Phil's cheating, and he's like, that's the lambada, that's the forbidden dance, because they had to like reference it.
Yeah, they're talking about like, how they both have wanted to learn how to do the tango, and
No.
they're like, we should do this together. It's like, yeah. And then he's like, that'd be great. And, Melanie, there's something I think you should know. And I've been like picturing myself telling you this. So, and as he's about to say it, Joy and Victoria somehow figured out what fucking boat he's in. And like just.
Well, no, earlier they peeked through the window and
Yeah, they
found
peeked
them.
through
Yeah,
the
you see
window.
them peeking. Like, they looked through
Did they?
everybody.
How'd I miss this? Jeez. I watched the episode 2 times. I didn't see it.
It actually scared me. When their heads popped into the windows, I was like, what the fuck?
Man, I'm off my game today.
Yeah, the 2 portholes in the back.
I watched the episode twice. I didn't.
It's literally right. It's right behind them. They pop up in the.
Were you half asleep both times?
No.
Did you
I
fall
was
out
like-
of the chair mid-watch at any point?
No, I was watching the episode. It's crazy. Well, anyways, so I missed that. But they barge in and they yell, "He's married." He's like trying to explain himself, and she's like, "No, please stop." And like they kick him off the boat. He's like, "But it's my boat." Like, just leave. And he leaves.
I appreciate that he didn't fight it harder.
They're making him a nice enough guy. Like, even with the situation, he's like, yeah, taking the gentleman's approach here. Like, you're right. Like, I should leave for a moment and let you guys talk.
But he keeps saying, "I have something else to say. I have something else to say." And you think there's going to be this payoff? His wife died, or they're
they
separating and
Yeah.
about to break up, or something like that. But no, this guy's just an asshole cheating on his wife. I don't care how bad their relationship is. They're still together.
Yep, 100%, yeah.
But that's why, though, I think they were smart enough to not be like, I am going to see Hank later like they smartly were like writing him off because he's not redeemable, right? Because like, he's cheating on his wife. You can't make him be like somebody that you're like, well, maybe it is a bad marriage. Like, nope, you can't make that a good person unless you know way more.
Before I get to explain anything, when he first leaves and they're like, what can we do? And Joy's like, let's kill him. Like, that's your solution to everything. It's like, well, can we just try it once? So does this girl have like a legit bloodlust to murder?
Seems it.
Just it all the time.
I do love that her character is so wild, where she's like licking her grease and wants to kill people. Like, it does make you want to be like, what is she gonna do further down 100 episodes from now? Because they're gonna have to just write her crazier and crazier.
I can see that character becoming flanderized and like having to make her like weirder and weirder as time goes on. Hank like walks back towards them, like kind of like knocks on the door, but like he's already like, he's still inside. We said go away. It's like, there's something I need to say. He's given the speech. Like, I didn't have any of this in mind when I went to the bar, but then I saw these 3 incredibly beautiful, sophisticated women, and they came and sat down at our table, and now Victoria's like, go on. And he's just, talking to Melanie about how beautiful she was, and he couldn't help himself, and he's been stuck in this bad marriage with someone who he should never have been with, and like, he's so sorry, and like, again, like they're making him sympathetic here. They're at least trying to tell you that he's not in a good relationship. But Ferg, I agree with you. Like, as far as like, he's still cheated. Like,
yeah,
no matter like where you are in a relationship.
And he went out of his way. He invited them to the table.
Yeah, he started this.
Yeah.
Also, bad writing. He said stuck in a bad marriage. He's a plumber. He should have said trapped in a bad marriage. I know nothing about plumbing, but I've changed traps while plumbing. Like, that's just an easy joke, right?
Maybe he likes to disconnect when he is off the clock.
I don't like to think about work, babe. I've been plungered into a bad marriage.
But yeah, it is tricky because they're trying to make him sympathetic while still having done something that was inappropriate.
It would have been funny if he was just like, I have to tell you something. I don't actually like the symphony. He's not a bad guy at all. He just like lied about the tour.
They could have kind of gotten around this a little bit by them not hooking up that night.
Yeah.
It could have just been like, oh, I got Hank's number. And then like, hey, he asked me on a date. And like, they could be in this whole situation and he could be like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. Like I'm married. Like I shouldn't even have asked you to dinner. Like this is too much. But yeah, they've already hooked up. So like you could have avoided that and made him a little bit more redeemable if you want to bring him back later.
I have a question, and this could have been a scene or not a scene, but let's just talk about it hypothetically. So Valerie Bertinelli walks back in wearing his Indians shirt. Does that mean that he walked back into his marital home wearing either A, no shirt, or B, Valerie Bertinelli's shirt?
Yeah, where did they go?
No, they obviously fucked on the boat the night before. He probably has more clothes there.
No, I don't think it was on the boat. Was it on the boat? I don't think so.
No, because the boat's new, yeah.
Because he invited her to go to the marina. Like
she asked where the marina is, yeah. He says they drove around all night, so I'm guessing they fucked in his car.
Classy.
Or van. He's a plumber.
Plumber van, more spacious.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's just more poor writing. They probably fucked on that boat.
No, she didn't know where it was because that's what
the marina was.
She asked. That's where whores go.
Well, she's not.
Maybe she was drunk.
I mean, she could have been drunk and not known where she was, but
she was high on cheese fries.
The van makes sense.
Talk about laying pipe.
There he is.
There it is.
Yeah, here we go.
Why did you have to say the dumb thing 5 minutes ago when you could have been silent and just said that? We all would have been like, there's Gordo.
Because
it took him that long to think of it.
It did.
I mean this with all the love. There's no guarantee he was going to come up with one that made sense. So he has to like get something in there. He's also like waiting for the good line.
It would have been funnier if Betty White came into the boat and then farted.
It actually would have.
I just came up with a joke. What is a plumber's least favorite shoe?
What?
The clog.
Right now, there are Dutch plumbers listening to our episode being like, fuck you, Nick, how fucking dare you. What is Batman's least favorite shoe? Killer Croc. That's for you, Gordo.
Also a type of clog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Full circle.
What's the Karate Kid's favorite shoe? Elizabeth.
Jay wins. Fuck.
Right now, Elizabeth's shoe is just like...
Why am I ring in my ear?
Why are my ears burning?
I'm ashamed at how stupid that joke was, but I was trying to fit this is what we'll go with. So he explains the situation. It doesn't really change anything, but they're all still sitting there. Victoria's phone rings. It's like, oh, it's my agent. Hold on. she takes the call, hangs up. She's like, well, I have an audition for the next Transformers movie. Oh, what part? To play Megan Fox's grandmother. And they're like, oh, and it's like this whole thing. And it's, I mean, in fairness, she was like, I don't know what her character's supposed to be, but she's like 60 years old at the time of the filming in real life.
The Transformers movies, Megan Fox is playing a high schooler.
Yeah.
So to be a high schooler's grandmother puts you in your 50s. Like, it's not that wild.
Yeah, it's not crazy, like in the slightest.
Yeah, but she wants to be a sex symbol. She doesn't want to be somebody's grandmother.
That's the thing, though. I guess it's the reality that's the role she's going to get.
And it's like, she's not going from being Megan Fox to being Megan Fox's mother. She made the jump to Megan Fox's grandmother.
What if she's Bumblebee's grandmother?
And Hank's like, if anyone thinks you look like a grandma, they're crazy. And she's like, oh, thank you. He's a keeper.
Yeah, that's all she needed.
That's her best line of the whole episode. Just immediately falls apart at her friends.
The Hank's not a good guy. Would have fucked any of the three girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He basically just threw it out there and was going to take whatever one. And to be fair, not the worst luck of the draw, right? You get any of those three, you're doing okay.
Not to be too misogynistic, but out of the three, which is most your type?
The crazy one, whatever her name is.
Wendie Malick's more me, I think.
I think Valerie Bertinelli, because I know she likes the rock and roll.
Who's the British one?
It would have been
Jane Levy, Daphne.
But like, I don't know, Valerie Bertinelli in this episode, like really, like, I don't know, there was like a cuteness to her character that I really liked.
Well, she's a J girl. I mean, come on.
I guess.
Okay, put a pair of glasses on her.
I was going to say, if there's a scene where she's like, let me check the menu and puts her glasses on, Jay will be cemented immediately.
Put a pair of glasses on Jane Levy's. Both of them obviously objectively attractive without glasses. I just have a preference. I wouldn't say fetish, just a preference.
No one's going to say Betty White, you're a bunch of ageists.
Jill would.
No, look, Betty White during Golden Girls and Mama's Family, you've got me. But even I have my limits. Betty White looks like
really
such a nice...
during like those shows, like I get that she was a lot younger, but it's different times. Like we're looking at three women now that like at this time of this show are about the same ages as the Golden Girls were then, but it's the different look.
You age very differently. It's the curly short hair, and it's a very different thing. And obviously, I know you guys dunk on me for thinking Rue McClanahan was a babe back then, which I do think. And I still think everyone should go watch the episode where she's a sex kitten and All in the Family, and you will change your minds.
Maybe
Is
one
there
day.
something else?
Again, Joe, I don't think anybody like really. I mean, yeah, we give you shit for it, but I don't think that was the thing. The thing is like that was your first crush.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on board with that part. Yeah. When everyone else was like Topanga, the Pink Ranger, Kelly Kapowski, you're like Blanche.
Yeah.
That is kind of weird, I guess, when you put it in that context.
Mine was Alex Mack, Larissa Olenek.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. It's like I nostalgically remember Nick having a big crush on her.
Right?
Which is the funny thing.
Yeah.
He's been very consistent with that one.
Now, Joe, not to like, I mean, like kidding aside, like, you've stated like some of your early crushes as a kid being some of these actresses, but like the ones I mentioned, like the classic ones that like almost our entire generation was like, were you into those girls as well?
Oh, Pink Ranger for sure was in there.
Did the Topangas and Kelly Kapowskis of the world do? Yeah.
Not so much Kelly Kapowski, honestly, but Topanga for sure.
I was in love with Kelly Kapowski. In love.
None of the girls from Saved by the Bell ever really did it for me, to be honest, weirdly enough.
I was into Jessie too until she went on, what is it, Showgirls, and
Until she started doing those caffeine pills.
She made me really uncomfortable in Showgirls. I'm like, ooh, tits, but
I don't know. Looking back now, I see her doing Speed with the Misfits poster on her wall, and I'm like, we could have hung out. We could have been friends back then.
As a kid who like, I mean, I grew up idolizing Zach Morris and wanting to be with Kelly Kapowski. I mean, I loved Saved by the Bell so much when I was a kid.
You just wanted his time freezing abilities. Be honest.
I just wanted the cool cell phone.
I don't know. That episode where he sings in the band make him feel
Yes.
he's like not cool
Zack
at
Attack?
all anymore. Zack Attack episode makes him the least cool human in the world.
He's cool when you're 8 and watching it. I don't know. About
Again, I was a
38
California
watching
Dreams guy when it comes to the bands.
That show's the worst.
You're the worst. You're a surf dude with attitude. Feeling groovy.
I want people who listen to the show, like, you know, if you're new to the show, thank you. For those of you guys who listen all the time, and at the time of our recording, we just had like our Spotify Wraps come out and stuff, so you're gonna have our January things coming out soon. And thank you to everyone who posted those, by the way. But I want you guys to know, like, for those of you who've been listening for a long time, you've heard Ferg on here a few times mention his disdain for California Dreams. This is not like just an on the show thing. Ferg has yelled at Joe about that show in real life in private conversations so much over the last year plus.
It's true, yeah.
He legitimately is mad that we had to watch that show and brings it up often.
I was just going through stuff, trying to clear out my closet and reorganize, and found the soundtrack to California Dreams and was like, ooh, keeping that up
what
for
is
a
it,
while.
just that one song 7 times?
No,
It was 12 great songs.
We got
thank
it
you.
multiple times in the episode.
Well, you didn't watch it when it was new. You missed out on the episode and a new song every episode.
Ferg, part of the crafty writing is they had to practice the song before they performed it. Like that's
Did they have to show us the music video in the middle?
The music video is one of the weirdest, worst fucking things a sitcom has ever done. That is the worst plot device. Like, I'm agreeing with you. That's not a good episode. But don't wake me up from dreaming.
to get back into this. We flash to later in the night, and now the 3 girls are all back at Melanie's new apartment, just hanging out on her back porch that has like a swinging bench. They're all sitting there. I guess they have to sit there, right? Because there's nothing in the apartment. and also, are they sleeping there tonight? Because there's nothing inside.
Maybe they got air mattresses.
Maybe they stole all the furniture from the hotel.
Or from the boat.
You know, if anything, you'd almost want to watch episode 2 to find out how they get this place furnished.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I just want to see how they did this.
Episode 2 is just them at like a rent-a-center. It's like, okay, why are we watching this?
A month lease.
Episode 2 is them just sinking Bo Duke's boat.
Them Duke boys are sinking again. Did I tell you somebody in our neighborhood has the fucking Dixie horn? Like the...
I think you might have once, actually.
It was actually the day that Jay and Gordo came up to hang out for the barbecue. We're like outside sitting up, and a car drove by and hit the horn, and we're like, "Diddle-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo." We like looked at each other like, oh my god, that just happened. Holy shit.
So they're all on the back porch, and they're all kind of reflecting on like where life's taking them. And Victoria's worried because now she's auditioning for grandmother parts, and now Joy's like, oh, you know, I put everything into my business, but you know, I've got nothing if that doesn't work out. And so now it's Melanie going, well, you guys all have a chance to change something. Number 72. I guess fucking her friends memorized everything in her book because, you know, reinvent yourself. You know, they're talking about like the desire to do that and start over. And Elka walks out. They ask her like, hey, what's the deal with old ladies in tracksuits? It's like, I guess a legit question, right? Old ladies do love tracksuits.
They do.
They're comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's like it's funny, and you get Betty White being funny, but I feel like it's why ask a question that you know the answer to. Like, why are you wearing comfortable clothes when you're 80? Like, because they're comfortable, and I'm 80. Like, I don't know why we're spending fucking minutes on this, you know?
Well, I mean, not just comfort, but she says that, you know, when you're in your 20s, you dress for men, in your 40s, you dress for success, and in your 80s, you dress for the bathroom. So just, I guess, easier to
poop, Gordo.
There you go.
Listen.
Yeah, Gordo, there was your defecation corner.
Why do you think he bought underwear with pockets? Just less stuff to take off.
It's true, and I can take my cell phone with me to the bathroom without holding it.
Has it been hindering you for a long time? You're one hand holding your phone.
Hold on, quick question. So typically, before this, when you're home and have to go to the bathroom, you undress first and then walking into the bathroom?
No, if I'm in my...
so badly.
Right now, I am wearing... I could stand up and I could show you what I'm wearing. I'm just wearing...
He's
like,
wearing the underwear in the pocket.
No, I wore them the other day.
It's a candy cane. Merry Christmas, boys.
No, sometimes, like at night, I will be in my underwear walking around. So what I will do is I will take the stretchy band and I will put my cell phone against my hip and carry it that way, like a holster,
Is
like
it
on
that hard
Yosemite
to
Sam.
hold your phone?
Kind of.
How much walking around the house are you doing? You doing like laps?
Like, what?
Listen,
Are you just a walk around the house in your underwear guy? Are you just like it's my work day is done? Are you just in your underwear all the time?
Jay was like that forever.
No, I'm a forever. I'm in my gym shorts at all times if I'm home.
No, I'm usually in gym shorts, but sometimes I like to walk around in my underwear.
Even like I'm someone who like even if I'm going home for like 2 hours and have to run back out, I get changed, put my gym shorts on, and then get changed again.
I don't like to bring outside clothes sitting on other stuff in my house.
I always get shit for it, but like I will wear jeans and shoes until I get into bed.
I'm with you. Nope, I'm right there with you,
like
man.
it doesn't bother me. Like I'm not uncomfortable right now. Like,
see, I used to be like that, and now I started wearing shorts, like gym shorts around. Now I can't not. Now I'm comfortable.
I have shorts like that I wear to bed, but I can't wear them around the house.
The one man who hasn't chimed in, we all know he likes to Donald Duck it around the house.
Ferg hasn't stood up for a reason. He doesn't want to show.
Full fucking hoodie, hat. That's it.
boots.
Just in case there's a burglar. Has to run.
I'll have you know I'm wearing sweatpants right now.
But yeah, the pockets, look into it. You'll thank me.
I won't. I don't need underwear with pockets. That's unnecessary.
Have any problem carrying my phone?
I know what Santa's bringing you guys for Christmas.
Good, buy me pocket underwear. I'm not putting my phone in there.
What would you put in there?
Snacks.
Like pretzels.
Just walking around with fucking hot dogs from his toaster in his underwear pocket.
I'll keep my vape in there.
There you go.
I also keep that in there. It's a good size.
Is it one pocket on each side, or is it just one
No,
pocket?
no. It's just one kind of big square pocket that's sort of like on your hip, like where you would put like a pistol.
Yeah, I know where
You
pockets
saying
go.
it like that is you trying to make it sound so much cooler. Like, that's where like a man would put a gun. Like, no, you just said you'd put your vape in there when you go poopies. It's not the same as a gun holster.
Listen, the packaging.
While he's wearing his Crocs with spurs on them.
Yeah, with giblets.
Where does come
So anyways, to get back into the show, as we try so desperately to get to the end of it here, they're talking about how like the girls have their flight to Paris tomorrow. The decision's made like, well, we could spend 2 weeks in Paris. We could spend 2 weeks in Cleveland. So now they're going to cancel their trip and hang out for 2 weeks where Melanie's moving. That's official. But for now, these two girls have decided we're going to cancel our trip to Paris and we are going to stay with you for 2 weeks.
Yeah, they say the Paris of Ohio, which I feel like they could have picked a different city because there's like 15 cities named Paris in America, right? And a lot of them are like random places like Paris, Illinois, right? Paris, Texas, you'd like might know from the movie or whatever. But there's so many other Parises that I feel like the joke of like the Paris of Cleveland doesn't land when there's a lot of Parises in America.
But I think when someone says Paris, they know they mean France.
I mean, like the Paris.
I tried with a few of these guys and was immediately shot down with my desire to go on a road trip where I go to all 16 Bostons in the United States. But if I say Boston, we're talking Massachusetts.
I've never heard that suggestion before in my life.
Yeah, that's the first I've ever heard of that suggestion.
I've never heard of that.
Chat.
I put it in a group chat that I know that Nick and Ferg are both in. I even mapped it out. You don't even go further than Texas. It's like only the half of the country.
There's a reason why those other Bostons aren't known, because they're probably shitholes.
Right, but along the way, you're passing all these other major cities that you would stay in, and then you just drive through them and stuff. Anyways, that's a whole conversation for a different time. But so the girls are going to stay, and yeah, when she says that Cleveland is the Paris of Ohio, Elka goes, no, that's Toledo. I have not been to Toledo. I've been to Cleveland. We've been to Cincinnati, but I've not been to Toledo.
I think I've been to Toledo. I don't think it was anything remarkable.
I've weirdly only been mainly around the South. I've never been to Ohio before.
The Chiefs.
Neither have I.
Oh, Joe, you're missing out, buddy.
I will say I know somebody who lives in Cleveland, and the first thing he said to me was, "It's okay, but it's really cheap to live here." And then that or true when I look up.
Yeah, I mean, I used
listings.
to. I worked with someone who was natively from Cleveland. I said, "What do you do in Cleveland?" He goes, "Nothing. There's like a mall we hung out at. That's why I live here." Okay, I guess at least you're self-aware.
We grew up hanging out in an empty bank parking lot. Hanging out in a mall doesn't sound so bad.
Person I work with showed me a bar that he was like, "This is like this dive bar I won't go to anymore," but I went to when I was in my 20s, and I looked at it, and it was a fucking dive bar. It was not the bar from this show.
Yeah,
and it was a bar we'd all go to.
Which is how this episode ends. Is well, what are we gonna do now? It's like, oh, let's go to that bar where all the men think we're hot, and you get Elka going, "I'll drive."
That's actually a fun little button at the end, though.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I would have let her drive me around.
Elka's an interesting name.
I believe it's Polish, right?
They make reference that she basically escaped the Nazis. So yeah, so I was trying to figure out like my knowledge of that name would be it is from right around that area. So I guess it works. It must have been like a direct pull from like one of the writers or creators of the show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, must have had a grandmother.
What was her last name?
White.
I think the last name is pretty Polish sounding, if I remember.
On
I
the
can't
show,
top of my head.
she
yeah.
played Elka Ostrovsky.
Yeah,
Ski.
that's Polish.
Yeah, the ski is usually Polish.
Yeah, it was Polish.
So yeah, that was the conclusion of the episode. Yeah, the show's not without its faults. It was very, like I said, cookie cutter, like as far as the sitcom world goes, simple storyline, had some laughs. Yeah, there's not a lot of extra information I had on it.
I just through trivia and stuff like that. Wendie Malick actually almost played Diane on Cheers.
I can see that.
That would have been interesting. I feel like she would have been too young because that would have been like what, the early 80s, right? And she's not that old.
Well, she's 70 something now. I mean,
oh yeah, no, I guess no, it does track actually. I'm just bad at math.
It's hard to think of Diane being anybody else, but I would like to see an alternate universe of that.
my issue would be is only because my main exposure to Wendie Malick is like this and Just Shoot Me, where she plays a similar character, which is so different. Not that she wouldn't be fine in the role, but like my brain only sees her a certain way because I haven't seen her play that kind of character.
Yeah. And also Valerie Bertinelli was almost she was almost Jamie on Jodie Foster's character on oh my fucking god, not Jodie Foster.
Halloween.
Helen Hunt in Mad About You.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
Does that mean in an alternate universe she'd also be in Twister?
Maybe.
And how it works, she gets all of her roles.
Yeah, she inherits. Yeah, she gets everything in her, the rest of her life.
I mean, that's possible. I mean, just through like osmosis, like that could have led to that role, you know?
Helen Hunt was at the last Comic-Con where I didn't see her anywhere. Berg, did you see her at the Comic-Con, Helen Hunt?
It's probably in that upper level where all the Back to the Future people were. We couldn't even get near.
So yeah, with all that in mind, we've gone on for a while, so might as well get into the green light or cancels. Well, all five of us are here for one, so it's
A rare moment. It's been a while.
So might as well just go in reverse order. Gordo, starting with you.
Oh, this is an easy green light. This is modern day Golden Girls. I love Betty White's character, sans fart.
Made
I made
yourself
myself
laugh.
giggle. Yes. No, I actually really like this show. I think it's not without its writing holes, but I think it's good enough to make me want to see episode 2. I enjoyed it like an old-timey sitcom. Like, this is a sitcom, as Joe would say. A warm bath, if you will. So, green light from me.
Nick.
I went into this more on the fence than I thought I would be. Initially, when the show started, I really didn't like it. I thought it was really lazy, but the characters, I guess mainly the actors, grew on me more than the characters did. I just really like the cast. I think they're all, they're all known for a lot of other things too, but I don't know. This one is really tough. I think ultimately I am going to greenlight it for the same reason Gordo did. I do want to see what happens. And Jay mentioned it earlier. I really want to see how they furnish this fucking place. Like where did they, this is such a whim thing. I want to see how they turn 2 weeks into the rest of this whatever. And, what happens with this dude that she met. And I kind of hate that I want to see more because I like to say that the show checked a lot of boxes. And this one just missed, like not enough of them to get canceled, but some important boxes. The writing, they just kind of like bubblegum and paper clipped these stories together, and it needs a lot of work, but I feel like there's probably potential there for them to get it right. So I am curious enough to give it the green light, I guess, is the long way around it.
I'll do a rare mid jump in. And, for me, I think this is a show that when you pick it apart, there's so many like illogical things that happen in the show. And I think the writing like was really hurting. This is like stuff that bothered me, like just like the logic behind certain things that were happening. But I feel like this show was so completely saved by the casting and chemistry of the main women that it overshadowed things that would bother me a lot more if I was watching a different show. So for me, it's also a green light for that alone. And it really is, it's a modern Golden Girls, ironically with Betty White in it again. And it's, just women like that are all single, as they're getting a little older, living together. And I don't know where the storylines are going to take it, but I think just the thought of it kind of being that kind of a show leads me to want to kind of see where they go from there. My fear as far as furnishing the house is they're just going to jump 2-3 weeks in the future and all that stuff's going to be settled out. And that's like how they're going to get away from that. But I'm going to give it the green light as well. Ferg.
Oh, wow. Is this going to get a perfect score? No, cancel. The show didn't have like, let's sprinkle a couple plot. This had craters of plot holes and bad writing from start to finish. And it was, like you said, only saved by tremendous casting. They're all amazing actors and stuff. But I can't overlook, like, that first scene, I can't stand. The husband happens to be on the same plane as them. They don't see him, like, at the airport. There's all that stuff. And
I'm with you.
Them trying to humanize the fucking guy who's cheating on his wife. It just doesn't do it for me. It rubs me the wrong way. And yeah, again, like you said, spoiler alert, how do they furnish this apartment? They go to the store and they furnish the apartment. Come on. So that's a cancel for me. The only thing I'm interested in a little is how they end up staying there, because we know this went on many years, the show, and this is supposed to be 2 weeks in Cleveland. So what makes the other two stay? I can see her staying for love and all this other stuff, but how do they? But it's not enough for me to continue, so cancel.
Joe.
I like to think the way that they stay and do all these seasons is that every episode is just a 6-hour chunk of their day. There's episodes where they're just in bed, just a dark screen. You're like, this show's going on forever. I liked this a lot.
It's like the Golden Girls meets 24.
Just a ticking clock. This was fun. It's stupid fun. It's the kind of show that I think Jay mentioned earlier, like, could just be on in the background. And I kind of love that in the streaming era, even though we don't really do this stuff anymore, this does exist. We're going to hit a point as we come into like the dearth of winter where shows are off and you need something to just throw in the background while you do stuff. And I think this will probably be one of them. Betty White, I have a feeling, could maybe get a little too overused as we go further into this. I think she's great in this because she's just there a little bit. One thing we didn't touch on is I love that she just keeps being like, I don't like you. Like, I love that her character is a Nazi escaping, non-narc having, doesn't like Daphne. Like, that's just super fun to me. And this doesn't have anything to do with my opinion, but one of the main characters in the first few seasons is Huey Lewis, one of my patron saints. So that makes me want to watch the show all the more. And if any of you listeners out there are also Huey Lewis fans, let me know. I do have some Huey Lewis branded bootleg merchandise I have made if you want some branded golf tees. So I loved this. It's a green light.
Yeah, so with that in mind, that's 4 out of 5. So congratulations to Hot in Cleveland. You do live on to see a second episode with us. I want to thank all of you guys for listening. Have a Merry Christmas or any holiday you guys, celebrate, whether it's Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, anything that you celebrate. Enjoy your holidays with your friends and family.
Krampus.
It's hack, but you have to say Festivus because we're a sitcom podcast.
Krampus, Festivus, Christmaka, all of the above. So thank you. Go to S1E1pod.com. Follow all the links. Subscribe, rate, all that stuff. Hit us up on social media. But enjoy your holiday. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you again next week. Thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best disturbing pictures of Drew Carey.